you for coming out and weathering this storm today. Indeed, we have had to endure many storms from the State House over the past year. We can surely endure a little bit of Kansas weather today. A special thank you to the Wichita Drummers, led by a Chickasaw tribe member. As we continue through our events today, you will continue to hear the heartbeat of Kansas. I want to thank each of you for coming out today and for touching at the heart of what matters most: our freedoms, our people, and our Kansas quality of life. For more than a year now, many things we cherish have been under assault. Today, we are here from all across Kansas, standing together, united in solidarity, to send a message. And we want the governor to know that he needs to put Kansans first. Not ideology, not extremism, not corporations, and not the American Legislative Exchange Council. Just 6 months ago, right here on these steps, my co-founder, Crystal, turned back to the governor's window and asked him if he was listening. We are still waiting for some indication that he is hearing us. Perhaps he will hear us today. Our voices will be loud.
Thank you, Kansans, for standing up for democracy with us today. We are all concerned about the corporate and special interest powers influencing our state government. More and more, our legislators accept the influence of a powerful organization headquartered in Washington, D.C., ALEC. This organization is made up of corporations and wealthy individuals who provide politicians with legislative models in order to pass laws serving the economic and political aims of ALEC's wealthy, corporate, powerful members. But today, Kansans speak out and stand up for each other. In addition to our speakers, we are eager to hear from you in the crowd, too. Together, let's take back our state.
I would like to introduce from Topeka, Kansas, highlighting our religious freedoms and liberty and the importance of protecting the quality of life we have known as Kansas, Tobias Schlingensiepen.
Good afternoon. Today we gather in this place as Kansans uniting in voice and spirit around our common and deep concern for the state of our state. We are concerned about the moral compass informing the policies of our governor and his administration and where these policies are leading us. We are concerned the current economic circumstances are being used to justify the unjustifiable. Rather than putting forward policies to demonstrate a clear commitment to helping the vulnerable, the administration is putting forward policies which will lead to massive cuts. It is cutting the very services that represent a valued Kansan tradition, mutual support in time of need. At the same time, the administration would offer tax breaks to individuals, businesses, and large corporations who will save us all if we just allow them to do what they do best with little or preferably no government interference. Where is the transparency and accountability in all this? If Kansans are being asked to support a tax policy that increases the tax burden on low to moderate incomes while decreasing the tax burden on those with the highest incomes, then Kansans have a right to demand accountability. Will jobs be created with these tax breaks? No! Will the quality of life for all Kansans be positively impacted and verifiably so? And if not, what will the consequences be? The best defense against those who claim this administration is a political tool for feeding corporate greed would be clear and transparent public-private negotiations resulting in clear and transparent public-private agreements. Businesses and corporations are indeed important to our state, but we need good corporate citizens in a public-private win-win scenario. We desperately need to defend the integrity of our elected officials. We need campaign finance reform. The integrity of our political representatives must not be put at risk. If it is, then our integrity, our ability to be heard, our citizen representation is also at risk. Our ability to unite around areas of concern, let us be frank, is becoming more difficult. Issues are more complex. Well-financed and skillfully produced campaigns don't always enlighten us. Instead, campaigns are increasingly designed to prey on our fears and incite anger against all kinds of people. The poor are branded as lazy and undocumented workers as illegals, and members of unions are deemed as so many obstacles on the path to economic salvation. We want to be tough on undocumented workers, deny food stamps to their children, even if they are U.S. citizens, but seek exemptions for businesses who need those same workers in order to carry on. At the very least, this is disingenuous. Constantly we hear that a policy initiative is a matter of rooting out fraud. Doing this where it is warranted is one thing, but why must whole groups of people, from social service recipients to undocumented workers to Kansas voters, be cast in a suspicious light? And all this is billed as a matter of equity. How, we must ask, is equity being defined? Is equity really playing off one group of people against another in order to justify even further cuts? Is equity really playing off those severely physical and disabled residents of K&I against those who are eligible for services but languish on in waiting lists for lack of funding? Is equity really making it more difficult for many of our fellow citizens to vote? It appears that denying access to the ballot is yet another tool in a politics of division. If so, it is the clearest indication that our democratic process is under threat. Equity cannot be rooted in a politics of division. On the contrary, it requires unity around addressing fundamental issues, unity around rights and responsibilities of citizenship. It requires a compelling vision of the future, one that is humane and that sees Kansas as a place of opportunity for all. It is not hard to foresee that the state of our state will be in ruins if Kansas is allowed to continue along the current trajectory. But we must all remember that a majority of us voted for this. It is our responsibility. As a Christian pastor, I am appalled that all of this should be happening in and through an administration and members of the House and Senate who waste no opportunity to publicly pay homage to their Christian faith while rallying around policies that are contrary to everything Christ stood for. I do believe Christians can be good politicians and good citizens, but not if they are hell-bent on throwing a mantle of piety over all too worldly motives and agendas. Our policies need to demonstrate a clear commitment to the poor, disabled, ill, jobless, and struggling people of Kansas. In the Bible, the most abused book in American politics, Jesus says to his disciples, "No one can serve two masters. You cannot serve both God and money." When our governor began to announce the list of 25 notable Kansans, among the first 5 was Congregational Church pastor and Topekan Reverend Charles M. Sheldon, author of one of the most published books in history, In His Steps. In it, Sheldon called for an approach to life that asked the question, what would Jesus do? And anyone who has read this book knows that the answer is not what we are seeing done before our very eyes today and in this very place. But Kansans are not just Christians of various stripes. We are Jews and Muslims, Hindus and Buddhists, and a host of other faiths. Kansans are people of many faiths and of no particular faith. But at our best, we are all people ready to stand by our neighbors and fellow citizens. No matter who we are and what we believe, we are all citizens of Kansas. We are concerned for the quality of our life together now and in the future. It is time we unite to reclaim our citizenship and with it ad astra per aspera. Embrace a more compelling vision of our common future. Let us ask today that our political leadership guide us in this way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tobias. And now from Salina, Kansas, talking about the importance of every Kansan's right to vote, Marie Johnson. Hello, Kansas. You guys look good?
The right to vote is paramount to our democracy. Of the 17 amendments ratified since the Bill of Rights, 7 have been to expand voter eligibility. This voter ID law is meant to circumvent the Constitution and suppress the vote of those that don't meet the corporate agenda. Make no mistake about it, this has nothing to do with voter fraud. Voter fraud is not a problem in Kansas. In fact, you are more likely to be hit by lightning twice in the same day than you are to commit voter fraud. What this law is meant to do is suppress the vote among the elderly, people of color, disabled, the poor, the students. Requiring a birth certificate to register basically wipes out registration drives and door-to-door registration. People don't usually carry their birth certificates on them, and the registrars don't wear copy machines on their backs to make photocopies of birth certificates. Chris Kobach knows this.
Kobach is a fraud!
Yes, he is. We must not allow Chris Kobach or anyone else to let Jim Crow raise his ugly head again. We cannot go back to poll taxes or discouraging mass groups of people to participate in the electoral process. We cannot forget the blood, sweat, and tears of those who sacrificed their lives and liberty just so the rest of us could vote. From the women's suffrage movement to the civil rights movement to Cesar Chavez, people have fought for equality, and we cannot allow their victories to die. Governor Brownback and Secretary Kobach, may I remind you that you work for the people of Kansas. You both took oaths to represent all Kansans. You didn't take an oath to represent Alec. You were not elected to be their henchmen. You were elected to govern all Kansans, not just the ones who voted for you. In order for our country to continue as a democracy, we must not allow a few to suppress the many. Regardless of what obstacles Kobach and groups like ALEC put before you, you must do whatever it takes to register and vote. Register your friends, your family, your neighbors. Don't just do it for yourself, do it for your country. And so I say to you, Kansas, fight for your right to vote. Fight for your right to vote. Fight for your right to vote.
Fight for your right to vote. Thank you, Marie. And now from Wichita, Kansas, advocating for women's rights and health care, Carrie Ann Rinker.
Oh, this is a beautiful thing. Look at you people. You're making my heart swell. And first thing I want to say is I look over here and I see all these flyers being held that say ALEC members, and those are the same faces of the people that take their marching orders from Kansans for Life. So no matter what your beliefs are on a woman's right to choose, we can all agree that these people need to go. I am Carrie Ann Rinker, and I'm with the Kansas National Organization for Women, also known as Kansas Now. And I'd like to tell you what's going on in Kansas now. In Kansas right now, schools are underfunded. In Kansas right now, there is a lack of accessible, affordable health care. In Kansas right now, college graduates cannot find gainful employment. In Kansas right now, citizen children of undocumented parents are being denied food stamps. In Kansas now, hurdles are being erected to suppress your vote. In Kansas now, good government is being put on hold while the legislators spend far too much taxpayer time, energy, and resources on the issue of abortion. Right now, Kansas is a pretty inhospitable environment for people who care about other people, for people who don't have enough money to buy their politicians, for people who value the rights of women and minorities. Kansas now is a grassroots women's rights organization. The power we wield is the power of the people. The power we wield is the power of truth and our relentless unwillingness to be silenced. That grassroots power is present here today. You are my heroes. I'm known for my unconventional approaches in my activism. I brought some tires here to the Capitol last session when Pete DeGraff compared the inconvenience of a pregnancy resulting from rape to the inconvenience of a flat tire.
Good job.
I'm also known to be assertive, bordering on obnoxious. One of those aggressive, uppity women Rick Santorum has warned you all about. I am politically frustrated. I, like many of you here, feel that the voices of everyday people are not simply going unheard, they are being willfully ignored. I stood in front of a committee last week that was considering a 68-page abortion bill that, among other things, would make doctors inform women of a non-existent link between breast cancer and abortion. This bill would allow physicians to willfully keep medical information from pregnant women in an effort to force them into continuing their pregnancy that may be wrought with severe fetal abnormalities and health complications. I came forward and I brought them some truth. And along with that truth, I brought a rubber stamp, custom made. It said approved. It was as big as a bumper sticker. It signifies what the process in this building has become. Nothing but a rubber stamp for anti-choice groups, a rubber stamp for anti-immigrant policies, a rubber stamp for voter suppression laws, a rubber stamp for ALEC, and a rubber stamp for the Kochs. That committee didn't much like hearing the truth from me. One member stormed out. They didn't like hearing the truth from this aggressive, uppity woman. And they won't like hearing the truth from any of you either. But that doesn't mean you will be silent, will it? No! Does it? No! Because the truth sheds light on this dismally dark process. The truth, when spoken often enough and loudly enough, has power far beyond the power of ALEC and the Kochs, Chris Kobach, and Kansans for Life. We may not win today or tomorrow or even the next day, but the tide is changing. We must keep up this kind of pressure. We must not back away from a difficult fight. We must never doubt ourselves. We must face our elected oppressors head on and demand accountability, demand justice, demand transparency, and demand truth above all. Thank you for letting me be inspired by all of you today. Thank you.
heavens for aggressive, uppity women. Thank you, Crow. Now from Lawrence, Kansas, a voice from education, Mark DeSetti.
Thank you very much, and bienvenidos a Topeka. I represent a cause that is under attack these days as well. Even education, the education of our children, is under attack with a plan to freeze the cuts of the last few years into permanency. But I would suggest that all of us here, all of us in Kansas, not look at the damage being done to our own favorite program or our own favorite cause and leave the argument at that. The challenges that brought each individual here today should be and are our collective challenges. Educators, whom I represent, must not be content if schools are funded and hungry children go unfed. Yes. Those who love the arts should not be happy if the Arts Commission is restored, but disabled Kansans or senior citizens are left to fend for themselves. We cannot be happy about tax cuts that are paid for by abandoning highway maintenance, by shuttering schools, by turning the care of our disabled citizens over to health maintenance organizations.
Your children behind you are just rubbing them down. Come on down, join us.
We'll let him run.
Join us. Come on, you have no words.
Hey, school kids. The future of Kansas is before you now. The strength of Kansas does not reside on the second floor of this building. It does not reside in the House and Senate chambers. The strength of Kansas is the strength of our communities. It is the communities where we educate our children and we care for our neighbors. It is in our communities that we provide for our safety and we build small businesses and jobs. This, our Kansas sense of communities, is what builds this democracy. And it is a democracy where we, the people, stand up for each other and demand accountability for our common good from those who have been given the privilege to represent us here. So, I would ask, whatever cause brought you out here today, let every cause that builds and strengthens our communities be your cause as well. You are the people of Kansas. You are the heart of this state. You are the heart of our communities. Bring your families, your friends, and your neighbors to this cause, and together, as in any great democracy, we can stand up for Kansas communities and Kansas values and do what's right for Kansas. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. And now, a little musical interlude.
Great speakers so far. Hope I can match it with song. Can y'all hear me all right? Welcome to Brown-Bakistan, it's where Kansas used to be. Welcome to Brown-Bakistan, it's our new theocracy. Brown-Bak and Coke, all the shots were governed by the rich. The wealthy all get wealthier and the rest ends up with SIP. Some things you may not have known about Kansas. Kansas has a long and proud progressive history. Suffragettes and populists and anti-slavery. But now we've got a governor who's more like a king. Consensus and the public good just really ain't his thing. Welcome to Brown-Bakistan, it's where Kansas used to be. Welcome to Brown-Bakistan, it's our new theocracy. Brown-Bak and Coke, all the shots were governed by the rich. The wealthy all get wealthier and the rest end up with SIP. When Brown-Bak sees a the camera, you can bet he'll give a smile. Then turn around and lay off state employees rank and file. The state needs jobs and there his record really ain't so great. Unless you count executives he's hired from out of state. See you back in Florida, Robert Sidelecki. Welcome to Brown-Bakistan, it's where Kansas used to be. Welcome to Brown-Bakistan, it's our new theocracy. Brown-Bak and Coke, all the shops were governed by the super rich. The wealthy all get wealthier and the rest end up with shit. SRS, DOL, and kids in public schools. Arts Commission, Women's Health, there's no money there for you. But to hire an old crony or fix voter fraud will pay. We'll even strengthen marriage just as long as you're not gay. Welcome to Brown-Bakistan, it's where Kansas used to be. Welcome to Brown-Bakistan, it's our new theocracy. Brown-Bak and Coke, all the shops were governed by the super rich. The wealthy all get wealthier and the rest end up with zip. The wealthy all get wealthier and the rest end up with zip. The wealthy all get wealthier and the rest end up with zip.
That was Mr. Will Katz from Lawrence, Kansas. From Lucas, Kansas, speaking out for the arts, Erica Nelson.
I almost wore my Brown-Bakistan shirt. Oh, that really should be our new state song, or our anti-state song, or our lack of state song. We're meeting today in front of a building built by architects, crafted by craftspeople, housing some of the most beloved, iconic art of our state. On top, a sculpture titled Ad Astra, To the Stars. The symbol Ad Astra has permeated the Topeka landscape, as well as the state as a symbol both of our state house and the people within. But it only tells half of the story. Ad Astra. The full state motto is Ad Astra per Aspera. To the stars through difficulty. We are right now in the per aspera time. We are going through the difficulty. And we have to remember that that cycle, that struggle, has been an eternal struggle throughout our state, fueled by the voices of the real people. In creating a life in the state I've chosen to call home, Kansas, I focus on rural communities and community art projects. To me, these feed the heart and soul of a healthy state. Today, I thought I'd talk about the current Aspera cycle in terms of something near and dear to my heart. So near, in fact, that it's my neighbor. I live right next door to the Garden of Eden. Yeah. It's a grassroots art site in the middle of nowhere, which is the center of everything. Built at the turn of the last century, and it's all about populist party politics. And when I say that, I'm not talking Palin populist party, I'm talking the old school, the one that really came from the voice of the people instead of being co-opted as a convenient label to get you excited about things. It was built from 1907 to 1932 and has become ingrained in the very fiber of the town, transcending any sort of party line and continuing to speak to visitors there today. It's the work of a Civil War veteran, a testament to the plight of the common man. It's 3-story concrete sculptures that are 3-dimensional expansions of political cartooning from his era. So think about political cartooning. Now think of these over your heads and coming down upon you and engulfing you in the story. They're not to illustrate something, they're to bring people together into a common cause. In Dinsmore's time, the prevailing notion of culture was bent towards monopolies, and the rights given to those monopolies were supported by the bank trusts. Huh, it's strange how we keep getting back to this cycle. What are we thinking? His first major tableau has this giant octopus. Its tentacles are wrapped around the globe. It's clutching the Panama Canal and the big trade routes. He thought that we chartered away money, transportation, manufacturing, coal, oil, land, and lumber, all chartered away to the bank trust. Take away the chartered rights of any trust or monopoly, and it would melt like a snowball below. but we are granting more chartered rights, creating more monopolies than we were whining over the trusts. Aren't we a fool set of voters? He said that in 1920. We're still saying it today. The octopus grasps a soldier. The soldier has his gun sighted on an Indian. The Indian is shooting at a dog on the next tree who's chasing a fox, who's chasing a bird, who's chasing a worm, munching on a concrete leaf. He illustrates the common view of the time that if you're a monopoly, it's your moral obligation to gobble up everything smaller than you. Every tiny bit of the world that you can eat is yours. That was the prevailing view when he built this sculpture. In the backyard, he tells us how to fight. He tells us what society should look like. And it starts with the goddess of liberty, standing on the very top of a 4-story tree, and she has a spear in her hand that's piercing that bank trust. Its limbs have been chopped off so that it could no longer control the soldiers. It could no longer control the food supplies. It could no longer take people away from their loved ones. Its limbs have been severed, and the limb that supports it, still labeled chartered rights, is being sawed off by 2 figures. They're holding a crosscut saw, and on that saw, it has a ballot. He thought that your most effective way to combat the monopolies was with your right to vote. If you exercise that, chop down that chartered right limb, you would destroy the bank trust octopus. On the surrounding trees, he had the people who didn't have the right to vote. There's a sculpture of a black man pointing to liberty, saying, I deserve that right too. There's a sculpture of an immigrant laborer pointing to liberty, saying, I deserve that right too. There's a statue of a woman pointing to liberty, saying, I deserve that right too. And he was optimistic. They didn't have the right to vote at the time, but he gave them all a path to liberty, and they all hold lamps of illumination. It was his view that eventually we would get to an equal voting right space within our state and with our region and with our world. The sentiment and voice rings true today, illustrating both the fights of Dinsmore's era and the power of the arts to give a visual voice that continues 1 century on. What have we learned since then? As in Dinsmore's time, our voices, the voice of the common man, can change the course of a state. The passion, the conviction of ideals, the over-the-top expression of the same are mirrored today. Our voices matter. What we do today and say today will still be heard a century on. When we translate that anger and frustration into passion and conviction. When we illustrate our positions and engage in conversations with our neighbors, our towns, our legislators and senators. The dismissal of the Kansas Arts Commission last year sparked just a conversation. The heart of the arts have been threatened, but instead of acquiescing, people from across the nation and across our state engaged in conversation, illustrating what we'd lost, repeatedly using our voices in a unified front to save the arts in Kansas. In Lucas, my hometown, the outcry came from across party lines. It came from business owners. It came from artists. It came from the Chamber of Commerce. It came from schools who had supplemented their curriculum cuts by participating in arts programming. It came from students who suddenly found themselves without the cultural opportunity that came only through these outreach programs. It came from the volunteer-run movie theater, built with donated labor and a lot of penny pinching. It came from everyone in the extended community, and that depth and breadth of voices made an impact, illustrating the importance of the arts in the everyman's everyday experience. While that struggle is continuing, the flood of our voices, our thoughts, our concerns is continuing the conversation. Not just for today, not just for a legislative cycle, but for the continuing future of the heart of Kansas. The hard work continues after today, continuing that conversation in your town with your representatives. We need to be accountable for creating and maintaining that conversation, just as our elected people need to be accountable to us. Yes. I encourage you to show up at your legislative coffees, talk to them in person, keep on top of the issues, and actively continue the interaction. And in these difficult times, these Aspera times, we will get back to the good times, the Astra times. We will get to the stars once more. Ad Astra, pro Aspera. Ad Astra, pro Aspera. Ad Astra, pro Aspera.
Thank you, Erica, and for all the support for the arts. And I want you to know that here today there are over 800 of you gathered in solidarity in the name of Kansas. And now from Wichita, Kansas, to give a voice to immigrants in Kansas, Salma Arias.
Muy buenas tardes, Kansas. Se ven bellos. Gracias a todos, gracias por venir. Hello, my name is Salma Arias. I am an immigrant and I am a Kansan. I came to this country at the age of 12 as an immigrant. And I am representing all those people that look and have my beautiful color that are standing right here today. And today here with me I have a representative from Wichita, Punkawee Victors, the first Native American representative. We have brought from Wichita over 2,000 letters from people saying that we are against the anti-immigrant legislations that are being discussed in here today. And Punkawee has received this, and she will take them in and let them know that there's over 2,000, that there's people here that are immigrants from all over Latin America and from all over the world, and we are here to build Kansas and to build this country. And she will make sure and let them know that. Thank you very much, Punkawee. I want you to look at all these kids and all these youth, this beautiful youth we have here on the sidelines. These youth are the youth of tomorrow. And these are the kids that will build Kansas, that will sit back here in the Senate and legislative seats that make up Kansas and make our decisions. This will be the kids. And we come to this country to build Kansas. When I came at the age of 12 as an undocumented immigrant, I came because I wanted to come to a land of opportunity. And I did find opportunity. I have been a business owner. I have been a leader in many fights for the Latino community. And I want Kansas to know, I want legislators in there to know that we are here to build Kansas and that we will stand for our rights, that we do not accept the policies that Alec and Mr. Kobach want to pass that are hurting our families, that are causing horror, and that deporting families and making the private prison industry rich and millionaires is not what we stand for. We will not stand for that. With laws such as SB 1070, the laws that are hurting Alabama, Georgia, Carolina, and Arizona right now, all those laws are making billions of dollars for the private prison industry. And he was in an ALEC meeting where such laws were drafted, and it's Mr. Kobach who's promoting, not only here in Kansas, but all over the country, laws that are separating our families, that are leaving children without their parents, and that are hurting everyone in our community. We will not stand for that. The people that are here today with me, los que están, I'm going to say this in Spanish real quick. Somos personas que venimos a construir, a edificar Kansas. No nos vamos a esconder ni nos vamos a dejar intimidar por lo que Chris Kobach, porque son estas bellas mujeres y hombres que están aquí jóvenes los que van a construir este estado. Ellos van a ser los que van a estar sentados allá adentro en unos cuantos años. No es tiempo de esconderse, pueblo inmigrante. No es tiempo de esconderse, es tiempo de luchar, es tiempo de votar y es tiempo de estar más que todo, más preocupados, pero más envueltos en la democracia de Kansas. Intimidated by me Mr. Kobach and the 40 or so legislators in there that are part of ALEC that are out to make a profit from the suffering of our communities. We will not stand for that any longer. We come to work. We come to build this country. We come to build this community. And our undocumented community does not come to line up at the voting polls and sabotage our voting process here in the United States. Get that clear, Kobach. We are not here to hurt this country. We are here to build this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Soma. All immigrants are welcome in Kansas, according to the people of Kansas. Now we would like to hear a voice from the crowd, and there will be more opportunities to hear from you in the crowd, but right now we're going to take a minute to hear from a crowd member. And when you do speak in the crowd, we ask that you keep your comments brief to allow your fellow Kansans to also have an opportunity to speak. So to keep your comments under 2 minutes.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jim Hassell. Actually, I'm a retired psychiatrist. But the first thing I wanted to do was to give an illustration of what my idea of the power of art is. And what this is Picasso's Guernica. And if you know the story of Guernica, it was a town in the north of Spain that was destroyed because they were protesting. They were protesting the Spanish government, the totalitarian government of Spain. And let's not let that happen to Kansas. This does not need to be Kansas. What I was wanting to say was that I have been in practice in Kansas. I'm retired now for over 30 years, and I think I have probably had a chance to see in the hearts and minds of thousands of people. And from this, I do have certain impressions. And one important one is the heroes of this world are not just those, I don't want to detract from them, but not just those that fight our wars overseas and risk their lives. They're also among us, our police officers who put themselves at risk when they investigate domestic violence, our firemen when they go into a burning building to help someone. But then there's another category, I think, that are also heroes. These are the people at the lower end of the socioeconomic scale, the poor, the working poor, the mentally ill, the mentally handicapped. These are the women, men, single family heads trying to raise a family when they're also trying to hold a job, and they may not be able to make a choice between leaving their job to stay home with a sick child or going to their job. These also the families that try to support their aging and dying family members. Also the ones that lose their job and are deep in debt and have to make choices between perhaps medication and food for the family. I think these are also the heroes of this world. And looking at you today, I think there's another category of heroes. These are our new citizens, our new immigrants that are discriminated against, yet they're trying to raise their families, they're trying to be good citizens, and they're discriminated because of accent, skin tone, and what have you. I grew up in the South, and I know what discrimination is all about. It's not limited to the South. It occurs all over, and we need to recognize it as it happens. I appreciate all that the speakers have said, and I would hope I can keep this in my mind when we next go to vote, and remember to vote, vote, vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jim. And from Topeka, Kansas, from Lawrence, Kansas, speaking out for labor and working families, Terry Forsyth.
Good afternoon. You have some people that you need to thank right now, and I'm going to bring them right up here for you to thank them. You need to look around and at these people that spoke to you before. These are the people that we will be working together with in this effort. You need to look around right now and look around at the people next to you. And as I look out, what do I see? I see people who value freedom. I see people that understand that freedom is not cheap and that it has to be fought for. I see people who love freedom, who love Kansas, and who love their families. If we do not work together, if we do not work together now, if we do not work together to defeat what's coming at us, there will be fewer and fewer people standing in this crowd. And I will not have it. Will you? No! If you want jobs instead of blame, you have to fight for them. Are you ready to fight? Yeah! If you want policies that will help Kansas families, you will have to fight for them. Are you ready to fight? Yeah! Look around. Each person in this crowd is a coalition member that you need to work with. We have elections coming up. We need to work together to change the people that are in this place. So, if you value your freedom, if you value Kansas, if you value your families, will you fight? Yeah! Thank you.
Thank you, Terry, and for all of those who work so hard to protect what we value. Now I would like to open up to more crowd speakers for all of you who are interested in sharing your thoughts. Again, we want to keep the comments to 2 minutes or less to allow others to speak as well.
I'm Bill Anderson from Wichita, Kansas. I need you to repeat after me. Put human needs before corporate greed. One more time. Put human needs before corporate greed. One other thing. Repeat after me, please. Power! Thank you.
Thank you. Another member of the community.
Here we got somebody right here.
Absolutely. I got you. I got you covered.
I am so pleased to be a Kansan today. I can't tell you how proud I am. My name is Stephanie Sanford, and I am a proud Kansan with a disability. I live in Lawrence, Kansas. The home of reason, I think. And I was raised by a mother with a disability who struggled through Kansas with the help of neighbors, family, friends, and community. My mother died 4 years ago, and this is the first time that I can actually say and will say, I am so glad she is not here to see what is happening to her state.
My mother was blind, and blindness gives you a different aspect on the world because you can't see skin color. You can't see how big or small a person is. You can't see whether they walk or whether they roll in a wheelchair. That's the Kansas my mother believed in. That was a community that stood for people and cared for its people. Our state, for the disability community, is under attack today. It costs twice as much to house individuals with disabilities in nursing homes, and yet what do they choose to cut? They cut the services that will keep people in their homes. There are 3,000 Kansans that have been waiting 3 years for services in their home. If they would just acquiesce and go into a nursing home, the state would take care of them. But these are Kansans, remember? These are Kansans who want to go to their home, be a part of their community, be a part of the solution, not the problem that other people say we represent. You know, what a great opportunity that we have today to be Kansans and proud Kansans. And I think what we all want is the equality that is no longer inside this building. So I think with all of these people here, we can raise our voices and we can let them know inside this building whether or not he has his window open. We can make a noise and let them know that, well, as Kansans, we want equality. Hold on. It's a great quote. I'm going to say, what do we want? And you say freedom. And then I'm going to say, when do we want it? And you say now. Are you ready, fellow Kansans? What do we want?
When do we want it? Now! What do we want? When do we want it? Now! What do we want? When do we want it?
We will get freedom.
I am here to protest because 20 years ago I was a victim of the racial profile. This happened 20 years ago and it's happening now, and it will happen again if we allow these legislators to attack our community. Okay. Mi nombre es Juan López y estoy aquí para protestar porque hace 20 años yo fui víctima de un racial profile por 2 policías. Necesitamos parar esto, no permitir que siga sucediendo. Okay. Estamos unidos para pelear esta lucha contra nuestros derechos civiles.
¡Estamos!
Sí, estamos. So let's work together to bring our people together, whites, Hispanics, blacks. We're all together on this.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We are Kansans, united in voice and spirit. We will stand together.
I'm a real American too, in spite of the fact that I know that Paul Revere didn't go to warn the British. But what I have to say is we need to use our ballots, and it's still not hard to do. You can still register with a paper form, go to your county courthouse, get your voter registration form, get your friends that are legal to register, and get registered while you can. Get registered while you can. You fill out a form. It's easy. Go to your county courthouse. They'll help you do it. It takes about 1.5 minutes. Turn it in. You are registered. The voter suppression rules don't go into effect until January, or if Kobach gets his way, June. And so do it while it's easy. Get it done. Get your friends to go. Use your power while it's still accessible to you.
Buenas tardes.
Thank you. Another crowd member.
Good afternoon. Buenas tardes. Yo creo que ese es el momento oportuno para decirle a todos los hispanos que no tenemos que esperar más para ponernos en pie de lucha, en pie de guerra, si así se le pudiese llamar, para defender lo que ustedes quieren. ¿Saben qué ustedes quieren? Libertad, trabajo, sus familias, sus hijos, sus nietos. El sueño americano no está lejos, está aquí, aquí está. Y hoy precisamente podemos empezar a luchar por él. Por toda la gente que viene de El Salvador, de Centroamérica, de todas partes de México, de otras partes del mundo, de donde sea. Creo que este es el momento para luchar por ello. Y yo quisiera oírlos gritar si están dispuestos a luchar por eso. ¿Y saben cómo lo vamos a hacer? Vayan de casa en casa diciéndole a cada uno de los hispanos que conoce que despierte, que es el momento de ir a luchar por esto. Necesitamos esa legalización. Necesitamos que los muchachos que están en las universidades sigan y terminen y no se queden ahí nada más, sino que sigan estudiando hasta ser alguien hasta arriba. Este es el momento y recuérdenlo bien. Yo lo voy a empezar a hacer casa por casa, voy a visitar a gente y voy a empezar a visitar a nuestros hermanos hispanos, que luchemos por esta legalización, que nadie se quede abajo, sea de donde sea, venga de donde venga. ¡Viva los hispanos! ¡Viva América!
Buenas tardes, mexicanos. Yo me llamo María Diamond. Yo soy mexicana de Ciudad Juárez. Es un orgullo estar aquí ahorita peleando por los derechos. Yo pido por las madres que están solas con sus hijos y que han sido abusadas, que votemos, que luchemos, que salgamos adelante porque podemos. Tenemos nuestra educación, nuestro corazón y nuestra gente que nos ayuda. Sigamos adelante. ¡Viva todos los hispanos!
Would any of you like to come forward and speak?
¡Arriba los latinos! Yo soy ciudadano americano, pero vine aquí a los 13 años y yo sé lo que se siente estar perseguido y estar escondiéndose cuando uno no tiene licencia. Pero hay que apoyar hay que apoyarnos unos a otros, porque si no nos apoyamos nadie lo va a hacer por nosotros.
Van a pisar como las cucarachas.
Exacto. Si nos damos cuenta, ¿quién trabaja en las plantas? ¿Quién trabaja en el campo? Los latinos. Por eso hay que apoyarnos. Y los nuevos estudiantes, hay que apoyarlos. Tengo primos que se graduaron en la universidad, están trabajando, tienen buenos trabajos, pero los que no pueden hacer nada, aunque quisieran, pero no pueden. Hay que apoyarlos. I know what it feels like being an immigrant. I'm a U.S. citizen, and most of couple of my families have a degree, engineering, computer science, and the other one couldn't make it because he couldn't get that paper, the U.S. citizen. I know what it feels like hiding or running away from the cops, stopping you. Come on, we don't want the hate. I think the Pledge of Allegiance starts with I, and it ends with all. So what's going on with that?
Yeah.
What is that? I starts with I. Arriba los latinos.
Hello there. My name is Douglas, and I'm not really a person of any real account. I just want to share with you an observation I made about what we're facing. I'm a blogger, you might say, and I had a conversation with a libertarian. And I was challenging him how he can justify all the budget cuts that our state has been performing of late. The cuts to arts, the cuts to health care, the cuts to education. And he basically said that generosity, compassion, and kindness are all illusions. They don't exist in the human character. It's all about self-interest. The reason why we are all good people is because we all want to get into heaven. I disagree with him. I wonder if you do too.
Yes. Yeah. I don't believe in heaven.
I think that kindness and generosity and compassion are real forces to be reckoned with. It truly is the power of love. And if you doubt that, as most of you walked up here, you walked past the statue of President Lincoln. And he commanded an army to free the slaves of the South. The men who died to do that on the battlefield are testament to what our compassion can do. And I can't help but be inspired with what we've accomplished here today, because we have only just started.
Thank you. We are going to take 3 more speakers who are here in line, and then there will be a call to action to go inside.
Buenas tardes, raza. Yo estoy aquí de Southwest Kansas y estoy representando a toda la gente que se anda matando en las matanzas, toda la gente que anda echándole ganas y que anda trabajando bien, bien duro cuando le suben la cadena porque no hay suficiente gente. A toda nuestra gente nos la están deportando, nos la están parando nomás por no tener su licencia. Estamos aquí unidos todos para poder tener a toda nuestra gente unida y poder seguir trabajando. Todos esos niños que se quedan solos, todos los niños que los dejan huérfanos nomás porque se llevaron a sus padres. Estamos aquí juntos peleando por todo eso. Les pido a todos que se unan, no hay que estarnos echando unos a los otros abajo. Todos estamos aquí luchando por un sueño. Y arriba los mexicanos y todos los hispanos.
Is anybody noticing that we're starting to see more light out here?
The rain's on the way.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mary Lou, and I wanted to say this. We are being told over and over again in newscasts that we need to be fearful, that we need to do what the big people say and what Alex says and what the politicians who know what's right should allow them to do what they want to do. But what they're scared of is what we have here today. We have people, all sorts of people, uniting together to tell them, we're not going to take this, and we are going to join together, the rich, the poor, the white, the brown, the pink, the green, we're all here to tell them we are not going to let them do this to us. We are here and we're not going away.
Hello, everybody. I just want to say we have all red blood, and we all have to be together. Like one nation, all form one nation. All of you, all of the people of this country. And then all have dignity. We have to keep up our dignity. And we fight for our rights. And this country, it should be keeping up, not down. But we need to get together. Together we can. Together we can. Todos podemos, pero juntos, hermanos. Que Dios esté con todos.
We now will have one more speaker and then the next call to action.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Adelina Berrete y cuando yo tenía 10 años mi mamá me trajo a este país por sufrir y para que yo no sufriera, para que yo tuviera estudio. Para estudiar y para cumplir mis metas. Yo no tuve la culpa que mi madre me tuviera a este país y tuve que sufrir mucho. Discriminación, todas las palabras feas que me han dicho. Sufrimos mucho los hispanos por no más ser de este color. Y ahora tengo 19 años no robo, no hago drogas, no hago nada que perjudique el beneficio de todos, de todos los humanos. Y lo único que quiero es estudiar, ser algo en la vida para sacar a mis padres adelante. Mi padre trabaja en una frijolera. Él se mata todos los días trabajando para no más recibir el mínimo salario. Y mi madre no trabaja. Yo quiero sacar buenos grados por ellos y comprarles la casa que ellos siempre quieren, porque ellos siempre han trabajado duro para que yo sepa lo que se siente ir a la escuela, tener comida, ropa. Y les pido a todos los que están allá adentro que hagan algo, porque yo quiero salir adelante. He sufrido mucho la discriminación. Agarré un trabajo y no puedo seguir trabajando porque no tengo los papeles para sacar eso. Yo estoy calificada, hablo español, hablo inglés, soy buena persona, no robo, no hago nada. Nomás lo que quisiera decirles a los que están adentro, que nos ayuden, porque todos nosotros somos buena gente y tenemos que salir adelante.
I didn't understand all of her words, but it was clear to see that her heart was in her words, and her bravery is truly inspirational. Thank you. I'd like to introduce now our partner in this event, Mr. Louis Gosland from Can Vote, to make the next call to action.
Thank you. My name is Louis Gosland. I work with the Can Vote Coalition, and we're a statewide coalition of organizations who are fighting for the right to vote. We're fighting to preserve our democracy and demand that every Kansan counts. It inspires me to see so many people coming out and putting themselves out on the line, taking off of work, making the travel all the way up here. A special thanks needs to go out to our folks who came all the way from southwest Kansas, who got up at 4 in the morning to be in Topeka right here on time to deliver this message. And thanks to everyone who made it out here, for those of you who came from around the area and those of you who traveled with us from Wichita, thank you. But here's the thing. Now we're out here, and this is our space, and this is our community, and our message, right? Yeah. But what about behind me? Isn't that our space too? Yeah. Who does that building belong to? Who? Does it belong to Alec? No. Does it belong to the American Legislative Exchange Council and the Koch brothers? Who does it belong to? That's right. And so while we've been effective over at Secretary of State Chris Kobach's office in delivering a message, and even though we've been effective out here in delivering a message to our community and our people, it's time for us to deliver a message to those who do business inside this building. Now, we've talked a lot about the American Legislative Exchange Council and the role that they've played with our lawmakers. We've talked about how they've modeled anti-immigrant legislation, racist, extremist laws for the sake of increasing the profits of the private prison industry and those who invest in them. We've talked about how the American Legislative Exchange Council has inspired our politicians through their bribery to enact corporate welfare by cutting taxes for those who can most afford it and shifting the tax burden on us, meanwhile cutting out the very social safety nets that we rely on when we need assistance. But enough is enough. 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 Many of you probably know that the voter ID bill, voter suppression, was also something that Chris Kobach put together for the American Legislative Exchange Council. The voter ID bill is meant to keep each and every one of you from voting. It's meant to keep those who have established themselves within our legislature in power so that they can continue to do the bidding of the corporations. They have been successful in getting over 40 legislators from the Kansas legislature to commit to put Kansas values under the bus, to throw Kansas values under the bus for the sake of corporate profits. And we say enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
But while we talk about our legislature's involvement in corporate cronyism, we can't forget our representative in the executive branch, Governor Sam Brownback. Have you all heard about his repeal of the state income tax plan? You've heard about how he's planning to cut social spending and education, right? Well, guess who inspired him to do that? His budget is direct ALEC model budget. He works for them. But we've got to remind Brownback that unless he wants to be seen as the xenophobic Secretary of State that we have, he needs to come back to Kansas values. He needs to reestablish himself as a Kansan and prove himself to the people of Kansas that he understands Kansas values. And so we want to tell Governor Brownback today to put Kansas first. So one more time, remind me, who does this building belong to? Do we have a right to be inside this building? Yeah. Would you like to join me in going inside this building and delivering a message to Governor Brownback? Yeah. The message that we want to deliver him, again, is to put Kansas first. We want him to come back to Kansas values. Values like family first. We must put our families first at home and in our legislature. Every Kansas family, regardless of their income level, documented status, or sexual orientation, should have the support they need to raise the next generation of Kansans. As a statewide family, we must be willing to provide quality education to all of our children and be there to support parents who need our assistance in providing the resources for healthy families. Doesn't that sound right? Yeah. Is that the value that you hold? Yeah. We also hold as Kansans a strong work ethic. The prosperity of our great state depends on each and every hardworking Kansan. We must respect their contribution by protecting the dignity and well-being of each worker. Every worker who puts in a fair day's work should be guaranteed a fair day's pay. We need to stop the epidemic of wage theft in the state of Kansas. We must protect all workers regardless of a documented status, and we must tell our legislators to support Senate Bill 219. And for those who have spent their entire lives toiling for the betterment of our state, the least we can do to show our gratitude is to guarantee them a comfortable retirement that they can count on, right? Yeah! Another value that we hold is community cooperation. We understand that our well-being depends on the well-being of our neighbors and our communities. That's why we're out here today, right? Yeah! We're here to support each other in our struggles, right? Yeah! We've learned to cooperate with one another and to respect our differences so that everyone can contribute to making our state great. We must uphold this value by maintaining open and civil discourse in our halls of government while protecting the democratic traditions that enable each Kansan to be heard. We should all have the right to vote. We should all have the right to participate in our democracy without having to resort to extremism to get our point across. And one of the most basic values that almost everyone holds is the simple golden rule. An integral part of almost all faith and belief systems is this rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This one rule has been paraphrased throughout different religious texts in kindergarten classes throughout the world. And it requires each of us to operate out of compassion and consideration. If we lived by this one rule, we would live up to all of our values. So are you ready to go into our capital? Yeah. Are you ready to deliver this message to Governor Brownback? Yeah. Great. So here we are. So we've got a little bit of a logistical hurdle to jump so that we can make this happen. What we're going to need to do is we're going to need to cooperate with each and every person who has a yellow vest on. Marshals, can you wave your hands? Let people see you. Our marshal teams who are along the perimeter will escort us to the east entrance. 2 of them will be outside of the east entrance because there is a metal detector. We want to remain orderly, we want to remain calm, and we want to make sure that we get inside. So if you need to leave your signs, there will be people at the doors to receive them. What we'll do is I'll lead the group to this entrance, we'll file in, and then we'll make our way up to Brownback's office. When we get there, we'll hand-deliver him a letter, we'll request to see him in person, and then we'll take our message from his office to our legislator's office. Are you with me? Yeah! Are you with me? Yeah! Put Kansans first! Put Kansans first! Put Kansans first! Put Kansans first! Put